o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order. We're in the Sheridan City Council chambers. Yvonne, can you call
recording in progress?
Yes. George.
Here.
Acuff. Here. Buckles.
Here.
McElroy.
Here.
Hebert. Hodges. Here. Houston.
Present.
Okay, so first off, we don't have a presentation for West Coast Solar. I think she's going to try and come the next meeting, but I was going to have Officer Grant come up real quick, just introduce himself. I believe, are you the new swing deputy or the
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm Deputy Grant with the Sheriff's Office. I've met some of you, and I look forward to meeting all of you. I've been with the Sheriff's Office for about 4 years. Worked a lot, quite a bit in the West Valley, so I like to be pretty familiar with Sheridan, and I started here yesterday, and excited and honored to serve you guys.
Great. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Right. So next we've got Rotary. Matt, is that you?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So I heard there was a little bit of confusion about the hometown days and the Rotary and what's all kind of going on. Thought I'd better clarify some things first off about hometown days and Rotary. Hometown days is only associated with Rotary as we give them the insurance. We give them the insurance policy, we kind of help out with things. I'm doing just fine. We kind of help start it, but really hometown days is all the nonprofits in the community getting together to form a group to kind of make hometown days happen. So that's just a brief synopsis of how it got started, what's going on with it. I think there was a little confusion because of the flyers that went out. So we sent out, kind of through a mailing list, we just sent out a bunch of flyers that just went out to a mass email list that we had. City of Sheridan's included in those mass email lists because we created kind of generic thing and just got created, generated, and sent out to you guys. Just so you guys know though, we already have recognized that the City of Sheridan has actually donated so much money. We're already actually adding you to the top tier list of the donation things. So you got a 2-page spread and the little booklet that we create, whatnot. No more monies have to be generated. Like I said, it's more of just we send these things out as a flyer just to get more monies if we can. You know, we're always relatively nonprofit. So other than that, there's really, I don't know what else you may need to know. Yes.
As I understand it, any money we donate now isn't just for hometown days. This is for whatever events the Rotary decides to put on.
So they're two separate things. So if it's labeled as hometown days, all Rotary does is the insurance, and Rotary has its own nonprofit events, like we've got our little trailer, and we help out with different things. Like we're helping out with doing the wagons that go up and down the street. We help out with the parade. We have the manpower, so we have a larger group of people that really are willing to help out and give back to the community. So we kind of do a lot of the side events and side things. But as far as hometown days go, Rotary, other than that, is not really their thing. All the monies are in a separate account for hometown days. Hometown days is completely separate and not with Rotary. Now Rotary has its own events that we do year round. So Rotary is starting, actually as of June, we have a flyer for businesses that they'll get to put advertisements on the side of our Rotary thing. And then that goes for the rest of the year. We are doing movies. We're actually working on an esports event for the community that's actually going to involve 4 cities. So Dayton, Delphi, or 4 different schools. It's Dallas, Sheridan, Willamina, and Delphi. We're trying to do an esports event that we've actually sent flyers out. We've got some good response, so we actually might have a gaming thing for the kids. We're trying to work with that. We've got movies again that we're going to do with the 80s. So Rotary on the side is doing its own thing, its own generation of money. And we are going to kind of separate next year. So we realized this year we got kind of behind schedule, and so the hometown days and the Rotary flyers that are again 2 separate things kind of went out about the same time. We tried to spread them out a little bit but everything was kind of hitting that head. So next year Rotary is going to come out first, and then hometown days maybe 4 months later as to soliciting for funds to help with the things that they're doing.
Okay, so Matt, last meeting, was the ask of the council, was that an ask to donate to hometown days or an ask to donate to Rotary? Because I think it was for hometown days, is that?
So that, again, 2 flyers. So you should have got 2 flyers.
Yeah, we got the Rotary one.
So that's for Rotary.
And we didn't see the hometown days ones, and I was kind of confused because I thought it was more of asking to donate more to
Day was completely separate. And that it actually says at the top header, Hometown Days.
Okay.
So yeah, two very separate things and organizations. Actually, completely different group. I think I'm the only, other Rotarians do join the Hometown Days committee meetings that we have, which the next one's this Friday. But it's really all individual groups from each of the nonprofits working together to make this happen. Rotary is really not in charge of it. Rotary doesn't get the monies for it, nothing like that. So.
So it was my understanding during our last meeting that you had requested that the city pay for the insurance though. Is that right?
Nope,
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay, all right.
No, Rotary's got its own thing. It's actually kind of the wonderful thing about Rotary.
Or porta potties, I guess that's what.
Porta potties is
Yeah.
definitely the thing we've been asking for.
Okay,
And I think it was something that was brought to, or, I requested, but it was kind of a thought process that maybe the city could continue to do that. While we're raising money, all our monies go into, as far as, again, we're just talking Hometown Days, nothing to do with Rotary. But we were hoping that the city would continue to do the porta potty side of things, because we're paying out for our booklets that we're now creating and generating, which we're up to 28 pages for our booklet this year, which is amazing. We've actually done really good. We're also trying to create our own, kind of a, not carnival experience, but a gaming section that some nonprofit can do. So we're gonna buy some games, some prizes and whatnot, and that's what these monies that we generate go to. So anything we could save on is wonderful. So we have asked for the last few years now, I think, that the city please help us with the porta potties. And we're kind of hoping maybe we can make that a standard thing that maybe going forward, the city could help us with that part. That we don't have to worry about one more thing. We
in
are
addition to the community grants.
again, the community grants, we just kind of put into hope. So, I mean, we'll always ask, to get money to help with this event. We did do really good. The businesses really did step out out around the community, and all the towns have stepped up to really help Sheridan Days. But, every bit goes right back into making that event bigger and better every year. And, we're kind of starting from the ground up. We didn't have a cash pool really to start with. So we're trying to get that cash flow, get us some backing, so we can keep on making it grow bigger and better every year.
I think the city is paying for work, that was
This
my
year.
understanding.
This year they are.
Yes, I don't know if you were looking through last meetings.
Yeah, there's
like a
statement
list,
there.
yeah, there's like a list of everything the city was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely do the porta potties, which has been wonderful for us. I know they're a big ask. And then you guys did donate another $500 on top of that. So
Through the
you're
community
definitely
grant.
through the community grant, yes. Which we really do appreciate. It definitely helped us get our numbers up there this year, because it's been a little tight up there, but we will really try. So any other questions?
Any other?
Well, do you have the Hometown Days flyer? Cause I think we only got the Rotary Club flyer, I don't.
It had, on the back, I think it had that they do hometown
Oh,
days.
okay.
Yeah, that we do,
As
it,
one
but
of
that
the
doesn't do the
events,
flyer.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the schedule of events.
Right,
okay.
that's the schedule of events for Rotary. not
Yeah,
for
the hometown days flyer has a whole, it's kind of similar as far as donations and what you
Yeah.
get.
And you'll recognize it really well because it has wizard bots, they sew little red slippers and stuff, so it's very, very unique. So, if you didn't get it, maybe we didn't send it to you, but pretty sure we did.
Maybe. I know I've seen it, but I've seen it other places, so.
We got one,
Okay,
Anything else?
any other? Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Can I say something? Did you make this then, and give this to the city?
I did not give them that to the city yet, no.
That's
think
very
so.
nicely done.
Nicole did it, and, our staff here at City Hall prepared it and sent it out. And then
Really, did you get one of those in your water bill?
Well, I don't
Yeah.
know.
It was every
Actually-
door direct mailing, so
Yeah,
every
I've
door
seen it.
got one.
Yeah, actually, that went correct.
That's really nice. I
Nicole
haven't
did an
been-
amazing job on that. Yes.
No, then I didn't see the hometown, flyer either.
Again, it would have been sent directly to the city and maybe just one, so. that should be it. Okay,
All right, thank you.
not a problem.
I'd like to make a motion. I move that we, give the Rotary $500 as a annual donation, having nothing to do with hometown days.
Second. From the community grant.
Or just,
That would be nice.
Heidi said at the last meeting, even if we wanted to go 1,000, we had money. I don't know where it's coming from.
I think it was from the community grant. There's a pool that's gonna be left over,
Yeah,
so it could come out of there.
Where it comes from, I wouldn't say because I don't control that, but Heidi said we had the money, so that's why, that's where we're already being treated like all-stars. It just kind of be like a community grant, especially if it's coming out of that fund. It's just not the right time to do that.
There is a first and second, so yeah, now there's discussion. So go ahead.
Because, I just know that we went to the budget meeting, they said we have to really be careful next year, so I would take it out of the community grant money because that's money that is designated. Anything over and beyond should be held close.
It could just be like January 1, already
Yeah.
500 still.
That's right, or even if it was $250, how many grants do you get that for?
So
Even if it was
whatever
$250 every quarter, you know what I mean? So it worked out to about.
Lucy, you may want to hit your microphone, just.
Oh, not really, how much would be heard, but okay.
But, also, my only concern is, that we're giving some kind of grant or I guess gift, community outreach money to a nonprofit, which I think actually, and aside, we could potentially give even more than that to them. However, I would be okay with that. However, what I would want for any amount of money that we're handing out to a nonprofit is that we have some accountability of what's going on with that money. Because this is not an event that you're proposing that we donate to, but to a nonprofit. And while Rotary, I think we probably should do this. However, I would like to have some sort of stipulation as to what that money will be used for.
Because normally in those community grants, it's an application, so we kind of know where that funds are going.
They have to stay, but they have to.
Okay, great.
So I guess,
Well, they don't have to, but they're not gonna get the money if they don't.
all right, well, there's a first and second. Any more discussion?
So is that coming out of the community grant? Is that what?
I think this year, yeah, because there's gonna be funds left over, after what?
Well, he said
July.
yearly.
July.
Yeah.
Did he just say yearly?
He did just say.
He just said yearly, so there we go.
Who seconded that? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, right.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sure if we asked, Rotary, they would, apply.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we would know where it's going. That way we got everything covered, so awesome. Okay, all right, so first and a second, all in favor?
Wait a minute, then, so is that a stipulation that if we give this money to the Rotary, that they will submit a letter of use, or as if it was a grant, in case they forget, you're not gonna get it? There you go. I mean, is that okay to have it like that, that it must have like what Ian was saying, I'd like to know what that money's being used, because we're thinking right now it's gonna go towards, well, maybe.
I mean, they've
They
got a lot
do
of
need the porta
events.
potties, we must do that over and beyond the Call of Duty.
Yeah, I mean,
That's hometown days, not Rotary.
I know, but
They're separate.
okay. I thought he was doing this.
Okay, I'm really confused because quarterly we have the community grant, which they can apply for, so why are we passing a motion or have a motion on the table for them to have a certain amount of money every year when they can apply for that money anyway? I'm really confused. And the other thing about that is, what does that say to other nonprofits? If we say, okay, the Rotary can have this, but the rest of you have whatever's left over in the kitty, I mean, when we're dividing it up.
Well, actually, that's what I have an issue with, that's why I keep going over this again, because I'm not understanding again, why are we doing that in the first place?
Well, that's why I'm not understanding why we're not just having them apply for the community grant as usual.
I think they still can. I know this particular, I think the funds would come out of basically the ending fund of the community events.
So that's what the
Yeah.
motion is for them to
Well-
have the money that's left over from the community.
Yeah, they're
grant?
gonna, this particular,
I mean, not explicitly that it's the leftover, but
no, 'cause
correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, but I believe you made that motion because we received the flyer from Rotary requesting donations
So if we wanna donate, then we might not, I'm sure Matt would tell us what it would be used for.
Well, I can tell you in 2 seconds, I've been checking.
Okay. But I think in normal situations, the donation is usually, unless it's stipulated what the donation is to, I suppose. I know that can happen too.
But then okay, go ahead, you can speak.
I'm fine with them getting it quarterly out of the community grant or wherever, however they get the money. However, I think the gym was proposing we get an extra 500 on top of that. And to your question, which was why are we supporting them as opposed to some other one? I'm not necessarily opposed to, and maybe you all are, but I'm not necessarily opposed to the city council taking a stance on certain nonprofits and saying, yeah, this is a nonprofit that's actually doing good, we're seeing results, and we're giving them an extra award, and we're saying, here's an A+ for you, for a good job, and if you want this extra $500 potentially in the future, if we have that, then be more like them.
Yeah, because I know Rotary does a lot, and they've done a lot for a long time.
Sure.
Okay.
So,
At least that's how I see it. I don't really care either way on this.
so I think, so Jim's proposing just additional 500.
I'm just saying our response to the flyer, we got a flyer that's requesting funds. We don't need to be $1,000 out, just 500, cut it in the middle, and that's what my motion was for.
Okay.
Response to the flyer.
Okay. I feel like we can vote on that. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. All in favor? All right, that's unanimous. All right. So there you go. All right, moving on.
I voted.
Okay, so first public comment period. Yvonne, did we get anything?
I did not get anything through the internet, and I don't see anybody raising their hands online.
Okay, I won't read that whole thing then. Okay, business items, so vote resolution 2024-L.
Do we ever talk about acting public works director's comments here?
Yeah. You got questions? I mean, I don't know if we'll have the answer, but we can.
I know this is Sheridan has historically used a portion of our state gas revenue to fund it. Read further in, and it says we have to do that. But I don't ever remember seeing anything come up about this until just now.
Yeah, I think so. From what I understand, back even before Heidi, it was basically 15,000 sidewalks, and that's how it was. I don't think the council was ever involved. Maybe they were. Yeah, historically, it sounds like that's just what Public Works did, and City Council didn't say one way or the other. Okay.
So I had the same question, Jim, and I wrote Heidi today, and I can tell you what her answer was. She said, Frank was spending 15,000 a year. I just thought that we would carry that forward, but over time it would go up because costs go up. The 15 is handed down to me. This is why staff is saying historically. And the other question I had, and maybe Mary, you can answer this. What about the 1% from the state gas tax revenue? Is that on top of the 15,000 or is that?
I think it's either all of 15 or a portion of that 15 is that 15,000, and it does have to be spent on sidewalks. So I think that's why usually they were just spending 15,000. I don't know if it came out to exactly 15,000. I guess
It exceeds the 1%, but the 1% is the minimum.
So 1% of the whatever we receive from the gas tax has to be used on sidewalks, and they just put them.
And it's about 15,000 yearly,
It
is
sounds
what
like
you're saying, and that's where the 15,000 is coming from? That's what I'm trying to
No, the
understand.
15,000 is from years and years back.
Funding, like
Yes,
straight funding,
is what
okay.
it's been. So
And then on top of that is this 1%?
No.
No?
The 1%.
the 1% goes into the 15,000, but the 1% is less than 15,000.
Jim.
The 1% is where we get most of that money, is that not correct?
I don't know the amount. I don't know what the 1%, I don't know what the
Liz, go ahead.
So how did, I'm assuming Gary came up with this sidewalk funding schedule, right?
Yeah, and I think,
So is that based on the, inflation and
Prior
price
years,
of things?
prior
going-
years, that's what.
No, this is for fiscal year starting
That's
2020.
going ahead, yeah.
Yeah,
Because we
so,
talked about increase in cost.
and actually, there's a couple of years where it stays the, wait, never mind, it's
It's
just
2 years, it's, well, actually, yeah, 2 years, 25, 26, 20.
yeah,
Oh,
526, yeah, it was just
Yeah.
listed twice.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it increases, it looks like 5,000 a year.
so I wish we had an idea of what the 1% was, what that was generating. Because how do we know that 15,000 per year is gonna cover it?
Doesn't matter. We just know that in the past we've spent that, and it has been the minimum, and we need to continue to spend that on our sidewalk. I'm sure Heidi has made sure that it's enough.
And any questions about, oh, sorry, Ian.
Are we talking only about the letter right now? Or the whole sidewalk?
Technically, I guess, but I think the whole thing, so you go ahead and ask about
Okay.
anything related.
My first question would be, is Gary with us?
I don't think he is.
No, he is not.
Gwen is, but
Okay. I guess my first question would be, why this spot, other than something, the multitude of other spots in the city that might need this work? It does need the work. There's certain places. I'm interested as to how this was chosen, other than it being on the safe routes to schools
I think
plan, because this could be used anywhere in the city, not just there.
right. I think it was chosen, because it's right in front of the school and there's no sidewalk, I think. Then from there, so how I'd explain it is basically that main kind of area around the school, and then from there, we can start branching out to some of those side streets, so kids have a sidewalk to walk down. Because the Safe Routes to School, during that, they had basically people like at each street, and they watched the kids and how they, left school. And kids went down just about all those side streets. It was just, it was just a matter of how many. There was certain streets more went down than others, but I think all those streets were traveled by kids. Some of those don't have sidewalks. So I think that's what this one was chosen, and I believe the next fiscal year coming up would be another project. I'm not sure which part they were gonna pave, but yeah, I agree, because I personally would like to see Bridge Street sidewalks redone so we can underground all that stuff, get it out of the way, but that's, me personally, but kids need to have a sidewalk, walk to school, so it's tough to, because there's so many that, could be, redone. I just talked to somebody today who she almost tripped on it, so, it's tough to know exactly the right place to put it, but I think the idea was to start with Safe Routes to School, since we already have a plan, and then we had through, ODOT, through ODOT, they already kind of said, okay, this is, where you should go. It wasn't like a whole city. They didn't look at all their sidewalks and say, okay, this one right here, you need to redo out of all of them. But Safe Routes to School, they did say, yeah, you should put a sidewalk here. But you can continue if you want to.
I guess part of that question that I should say is that, like, there's, for instance, the Safe Routes to School program, both ends of Yamhill Street are unpaved, including in front of the park. And that is on the Safe Routes to School. And so I guess I'm wondering, because I went and looked at the spot, and I thought that if there's a spot that needs a sidewalk, it's right there. So, and then I drove the whole Safety Routes to School thing, but I did notice that there is spots where there is no sidewalk at all. So I guess I'm just wondering, how are we prioritizing this? But it seems like a good spot to me.
I think the thought was to start like
As far as on the route.
Yeah, like from the school, the closest to the school,
Right.
and then branch out from there. But then again, I don't know. I think this particular is gonna be spent, you know, on that route, but, you know, in the future, we could do, you know, some close to school, some another part of town or something. But I think we have until June 30th to spend this particular chunk. So, Liz,
Well, these two are ahead of me, so.
oh, sorry, Lucy,
Jim first.
okay, well, Jim.
Well, I was just reading through this, what I saw, and you're right, we could, the whole place needs sidewalks. But what I read out of this is think, well, let's start at the school and work out, and I think that's why they picked this, I can't say, but that's what I got.
So I was up at the school Friday, just parked there and watched the kids walk down the street, because that's exactly what I did. And they absolutely flood right there coming down the beginning of that street. And the kids that are walking on the street, I didn't even know you had a sidewalk, Liz, but you do. I didn't think you had a sidewalk either. And what they do is they just cut across the street, and I mean, the bus traffic and the parents trying to get out of there with their kids. I was thinking, man, I'm surprised somebody hasn't gotten hit. But I never realized it until you read the paper, took a look at it, and that is the only chunk, is that crazy place right there, that they have these pictures of. But the traffic is so thick after school, and the school buses, I mean, it's kind of like, and I don't usually get wigged out, but I thought about this and I did. But initially, Cale, I believe in the same thing. 10 years ago, I thought, you know, if you wanted to improve Sheridan, start by burying the lines downtown. I just think they're ugly. But then you're right too, over by this park, but by the time, you know, it's like taking a big blowhorn, and when it first comes out, it's just a tidal wave. By the time it gets to the park, kids have kind of scattered a little bit. The residual is less, although I've noticed that also. But it's just really condensed when after they get out of schools. And so when they do the safe routes to school, not that anybody listens to anybody, but do they encourage the kids to take the routes that we've tried to make extra safe for them? I mean, I know they can take the side streets, I get it, but at least with the young ones learning, you know, this is the route, because it would be great for parents if they're gonna pick their kids up anyway. I did that with my grandson. You go down the street and you left, and I drove with him. I said, this is the way I expect you to walk if I ever let you walk to my shop, which I never did let him do because I thought it was too dangerous. But is the school going to try to reinforce it with the younger population, you know, train them right coming out of the gates?
That would be a better question for,
I can answer it.
oh, okay, go ahead.
Cause I read the O.SRTS grant, I read the whole thing. One, the reason it started at the schools, cause they're the most vulnerable population in the city, young people. Two, they had people on each of the streets, the school was let out this team, the Safe Schools team, you were probably on it. And they kind of did a survey of which streets had the most traffic with kids, and third, the one that's in the photographs, was one of the primary ones with traffic. And to answer your question, yes, they want to teach the kids, these are the safe routes, and that's part of the whole program. The Safe Routes to School program is one, to encourage children to walk to school, or they call it walk and roll on your skateboard or whatever, or your bike, and to get more exercise rather than having all that congestion and all that traffic. Get more kids, you know, out getting exercise, and so there'll be a healthier population of children. And that was one of the plugs, was that they wanted to teach the kids to take these routes that are safer.
Thank you, Liz.
Yes, and I did read the whole thing, and it was boring.
I didn't think of this for
I would say there's a multitude of money, great stuff, but there's a multitude of things that we could spend money on. For instance, on Second and Jefferson, there's stairs where there's sidewalk. You know, there's not even a landing. So, and on the end of Chapman and Second, there's no sidewalk on the corner. There's multiple spots. For instance, the park one that I was talking about, from like the Baptist church onto the city sidewalk there, I think that would be a good spot in the future maybe. So I would suggest that. I only had one other question, which is, does this grant that we're approving here span just the length of that lot, that city lot, or is it the whole block here, Third? Is it just 742?
So the grant, so this So this actually isn't, yeah, this is just,
Sorry, the thing that was.
it's just, implement safe, sidewalk improvement plan. I think, let's see. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, for $15,000, if we get the corner of Southwest Jefferson and the Southwest 4th Street, I'm gonna guess it's gonna take all that money. It's just expensive, and I don't think there's any sidewalk there, they're gonna have to create a whole, dig it all out, put the whole sidewalk in new, so, just based on costs, I'm gonna guess this portion that they have selected for 23, 24 will probably take the whole 15,000, I'm gonna guess.
Well, it looks like the city will be doing the dig out work.
Yeah, that's
But
to save money
still,
and to get
that's
money.
that's kind of a big hill we're gonna have to
Right.
flat.
That's a hill, that's a lot of dirt there, it comes down and it's gonna have to be dug out, and then there's probably gonna have to be a retaining wall or something to protect the,
Sure.
so, that's
But-
part of it.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
if there is funds left over, I suppose it could be.
Well, that's, right, that's, I guess, the questions I had about the property too, but I assume that if we're digging it out, that we're probably just gonna remove more of this person's front yard or something, I don't know what's happening.
I
But
don't
I
think
think
we're
that-
voting on anything tonight, we're just kind of discussing the,
Well,
are we?
yeah, for this, the resolution, but I think there's a portion of that person's property, I think it flows into it, but I think there is a portion that would normally be sidewalk, from what I understand. But
Or, what's the
Yes.
clearance, 4 foot? Is that, or that's for building back?
5, maybe,
Yeah. I don't know.
or it might be.
For the retaining wall?
No,
Just for the sidewalk.
there's a clearance for the
Oh,
city that,
okay.
yeah.
Well, there is a landing there, existing landing there, I think they'll probably have to remove the gates to put it on the sidewalk. But, I guess I would want to know the scope of the work that I'm approving before I approved it. So, well, let me rephrase that, I wanna know what the scope of the work is before I approve it.
Well, she has it in there.
Jim, go ahead.
I make a motion, we just table this project until the next meeting so we can get some answers, because there's a lot of questions nobody has answers to. And
Second.
hopefully Heidi would, give us some solid answers on it.
Okay.
Second motion.
Okay. Yeah, I think, well, yeah, I know I don't have all the answers to this. I think the thought is to approve the plan for Safe Routes to School as far as the sidewalk improvement plan, but yeah, it's like, we don't know dollar amounts, stuff like that, and it would be helpful, and I don't think, I know there is a deadline, but I think that would still give them enough time. I
Can
don't
we
know.
table it?
Will not.
That's what I thought it was in June, right? Okay.
Okay.
That is adjournment.
Yeah,
It's clear.
so,
Do you have a question, Liz?
no, I was worried about the deadline.
So like, I don't have a problem with okaying this to go, and I figure $15,000 isn't gonna go that far with the dig out. So in my mind, I haven't visualized that at least this certain section in my mind will be done. And there might be some left over, but I don't really know, but I guess at the next meeting, even if we approve this, you can give us a little diagram, like when you buy a home and it shows the survey of the streets, 60-foot wide with your sidewalk on the side. And Gary could he's probably got it in his mind anyway, that this is where they would go. I have a pretty good idea in my mind where they're gonna go, because I've driven up there in my rig, and I don't really necessarily notice wheelchair ramps versus a regular curb, sorry, but I do know that in some places you can just wheel up on top of them, so I imagine they probably have to have it from the kickouts, something like that.
And I don't think anywhere in the resolution it says the particular spot. I think this is just more of approving the sidewalk, I guess, sidewalk improvement plan that was part of the.
Well, I just saw this thing.
Well, yeah.
That.
But I didn't know that this is specifically saying that street. I think this is like, the resolution is adopting the sidewalk improvement plan from Safe Routes to School. And tomorrow I can ask Gary and say, okay, give us a cost. Go ahead, Denny.
Just keep this in mind, that the contractor that was been asked to do this work, we're getting bumped back because he's getting real busy. And he's kind of falling behind schedule on a couple concrete jobs for the city, and it's putting him back. So, and any other concrete person, they're busy time of year now, they're getting good. So, do we lose it if we don't use it?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I think we are mandated by the state to use the 1%.
So we gotta use it.
Yeah.
In June, by June, whatever it was.
30th, I believe.
30th, yeah.
Because it's the third.
Okay, so we've got some hands up. Who was first, Roxie or Jetton?
Well, the resolution doesn't specify where the funds are going, only that they will be spent. So if we can go ahead, we need to do that, because we have to. So if we can go ahead and approve the resolution as far as what the actual work can be done, we can be notified.
And I can talk to Gary tomorrow and get a scope of work, and then we'll know exactly what he's doing. That's,
It just keeps it in the budget year and the money spent on that like it's supposed to be.
it gives them the go-ahead to
Correct.
start the process. Jim?
I withdraw my motion, however, it does say in the resolution, the SRTS sidewalk implementation plan will begin at Faulkner Chapman and continue northward, since the most concentrated pedestrian traffic is closest to the school and the most vulnerable population and the youngest youth, is the youngest. So that pretty well says where it's gonna go or where it's gonna start at least.
Yeah, and I don't think it even just means north down this particular street. It means just north this way. So it's not just one
Then
street.
the other question I have, they're gonna do dig out work, which is smart. It seems like once you start digging out, you started on that project, so your money is allocated. Is that correct or not? I don't know.
We have this.
I don't know if you would, I don't know if you could argue that with Odo.
I don't wanna argue with anybody, I just wondered, when we start a project, they're digging up the sidewalks, guess what, they're gonna put cement in there, so that it's allocated.
Oh, I get what you're
Yeah.
saying. Yes, Public Works would not dig out an area that is not going to be filled with concrete.
Have fun next spring.
Okay, Ian or Liz?
Well, I just wanna advocate for this project that is highlighted, because I live right there and I see the kids playing around, and sometimes they run down that hill with all kinds of traffic, and it's an accident waiting to happen. So it really would be the best place to start, since it's so close to the school. Even though school's almost out, it still would be a good project.
Great, Ian?
I don't know a single contractor on earth who won't take prepayment, so I don't understand what the urgency is here. If we pay him the day before or whatever, if he's delayed a month on the project, I mean, when I was contracting, I absolutely would have sent money ahead of time. So I don't see that as necessarily being a pressing issue.
I think
We have time to make this happen. However, I do think that Roxie's right, that this actually isn't about the money. This is, as I'm reading it here, this is about the Safe Roads to Schools program. Sorry,
Sidewalk.
yeah. And I did read it, and what it says in there is that the priority is to go out from the school and then down Jefferson to the high school. And that makes sense. It says that because they share resources, so.
yeah.
It's right. So, yeah, I absolutely, let's approve it. Let's do that.
Okay, is there a motion?
I make a motion where we approve resolution 2024-L as presented.
I second it.
All right, first, second, any discussion? Okay, all right, all in favor? All right, that's unanimous. Okay. All right, so moving on to work session topics. So we got, I guess just read this. Language updates to the Sheridan Municipal Code, Chapter 5.32 Solicitors. I will say real quick, I did read through this, and I think some of my questions, I think, were addressed. The only thing still, in my mind, that this ordinance won't address is that the solicitors who come into town and just don't get a permit at all. I ran into that today. He didn't even know he needed I don't know if he knew he needed a permit or not, but he didn't have one. So the only thing is that, you know, we'll just have to let people know that, hey, if you do have a solicitor, you can ask for the license. And if they don't, they need to get one. And I think that's the only thing this doesn't, you know, address, because they really can't. But that's just what I ran into today. So I've got some experience with that. But I think that's part of the problem, whether or not we limit, you know, whether the person's going to talk to one dwelling or 5, they have to get a permit in the first place. But what I read through, I think was good. Any comments? Ian, go ahead.
Just a minor clarification, you said license and it's a permit, just for
Correct.
public
Okay.
that's listening. No, and
Right.
Tyler, I read this and it's fantastic, thank you.
I concur.
I got good advice. Jim, you want to go?
Yeah, on page 19, 20 out of the large type that we read, under paragraph 5.32.090, no solicitation sign, the bottom line of paragraph A says, except those persons exempt from these provisions by sections 5.32.030 and 5.32.120D. I looked back into 5.32.030 and there are no list of exemptions in there. However, 5.32.120D has a good list of exemptions. So my suggestion would be to just take the S off a section and just make it section 5.32.120D without having the other numbers in there that make no reference to exemptions.
I noticed that too. I went back and looked, and it was just kind of
I looked 3 times and I was like,
Tyler, does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that was a carryover from some earlier change that I did not catch. So I think Jim.
Okay.
And I think I'm probably doing that.
and then one last thing, page 16 of 20, all the way down to letter I, the names of any individuals who will be engaged in the solicitation who has, I believe that should be have, not has.
Yeah, it's plural. Who
You mean the end of line 9?
Yes, right before the
have?
I believe that because of the way it is written, the I means like, so you would read who has been convicted of, or plead no contest to, you know, and then you would, or if you were reading I number 2, it would say, any individuals who will be engaged in the solicitation who has been convicted. So it's like a continuation of reading the sentence. So I don't believe that have is the correct portion for the way that the law is written. But it makes sense because what you're saying makes sense. I think if you wrote it either way, I think it would be fine, but this is the way that.
It seemed odd as I was reading through, so
Right.
I wonder if it was have, that would imply they have to meet all 4 of those, whereas if it's has, it's any one of those that are disqualified. Is that wrong? Okay, that's fine.
It's,
What do you think, has or have?
I think it should be have. I believe I added, it said name, and yes, and I changed it to names.
We're conjugating right now.
No, I think you write it.
He has, she
Has
has,
been
they have,
convicted of. You have to go,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
but it's a they have.
Right.
who have been convicted of.
We're conjugating now, this is your thing.
So I see
But
what you're saying now, Jim.
because it's singular,
Yeah.
it's plural
Plural,
rather
so
than
it's supposed to
singular.
have.
Okay, that's what okay, that's.
So we're going with names is what's supposed to be there? Sorry,
Yes.
I was missing. Got it, okay, yes, then it should be that.
Okay.
Great.
Alright. Any other thoughts or questions? Jim?
well, this isn't really a problem with the ordinance because we all agreed that, for example, I'll use Jehovah's Witnesses, but you know, certain people have the right to go solicit. And the way it's written not incorrect. The city recorder shall waive the registration and fee requirements if the purpose of the solicitation, I'm in, page 17 of 5.32.050, letter B, it names off the exceptions. Commerce, okay, that's commerce going through. Anyway, it's just to make everyone aware that certain groups, like, and I'll use, again, I'm not picking on the groups, but they're one of the groups that are regular citizens. They don't even have to stop here and register, right, or pay a fee, they just go out and do their thing. I don't have a problem with that, but I wanted to make it aware that everybody knows that you can say to the Jehovah's Witness, where's your license, or your permit, and they'll go, then they don't have to have one, which is fine, I just wanted to make sure that, everyone's aware that's what we're saying.
Well, and when, because I plan to put this on the water bill, just let people know that, hey, if you do get solicitors, you can ask for their permit, and, I can add something in there, like, basically, if they're trying to sell you something, that's what you ask for.
Or you can put a no solicitation sign on your door, and that's legal too.
Right.
If they don't wanna. So, and you did add the language about kids and fundraisers, and that's okay, so that's good too.
They're the same, they don't even have to stop by, they get to go. Okay.
Looks good.
I can't remember, did we have a motion on this?
No,
Not
because
yet.
we didn't have an ordinance, we just were talking about. the-
Oh, right, yeah. Discussion, okay. So if everyone's okay with this language, next meeting, we can have this presented as a ordinance, is that, okay, all right,
Consensus.
all right. Great, all right, moving on, city council meeting start time, I know some of us, don't care when, but, obviously we wanna be respectful of the, counselors who do have a business, and I know Liz wanted to discuss it again, but, just wanted to bring it up again. I don't know if there's a proposed time, I know probably 6:30 would be ideal, I don't know if that's still not doable, we can totally keep it at 7.
Well, we're only two of us.
Right, but still, it's,
I mean, I came right from work over here, that's why I ate that little bar, that was my lunch. And, so for me, 7, I mean, if you don't mind if I'm running late, because I probably would be, because I gotta take care of my clients first, because that's how I get paid.
Right.
So, you could always start it at a new term when, I'm gone.
Jim,
I'm the one that made the exception at the idea of, changing the meeting start time. My intention was to have full agreement, but we've got people that have changed the time effects. I don't want to cause that problem.
I don't wanna cause a problem either, but we have other people to consider, Yvonne, Tyler, Heidi. That guy gets long days.
Yeah. Yes, it drives.
And I'm sure you appreciate a half hour early. But, whatever works best for everybody, I'm easy. I do it at 5 o'clock in the morning, I'll be here.
I won't.
Jim, what do you still do?
Yeah, that's too early for you. Cale, would you mind if, I think Tyler and I, we were talking about this, and I think we're pretty, but one thing that we had kind of thought is perhaps on nights where meetings that we know we're going to have planned executive sessions, maybe make those types of meetings start, just for those meetings, start at like 6. So then you're not trying to address really heavy subjects at an hour that you're not really comprehending the information, and the staff, everybody's getting tired at 9 o'clock when we start an executive session. So Tyler and I had talked a little bit about, those special type things like executive sessions or public hearings on an annexation. I don't know if some of you remember back in 2021 when those were incredibly long. And so maybe something like that where we just plan for those earlier type those long things that are gonna affect you late into the night, start at a different time.
And we could still have executive sessions depending on what it's about at the beginning.
Yes, and that's what I mean, have them at 6 and then roll over and start your regular meeting at 7.
Okay, I was thinking you meant like if we do
No,
have to
I
have an
apologize.
executive session like later in the meeting, because sometimes we're presented on something.
Right,
and then
right.
we-
No, it's always better to have it at the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember who was first. Okay, Roxie, go ahead.
If most executive sessions were held with the regular meeting, be later on in the month, it'd make a world of difference to me, and that would be much easier to handle.
So like
And we
the,
could start at 6 o'clock, you know.
alright, so like the third,
Regular meeting, quote, unquote,
Regular.
regular meeting.
Right,
if all executive sessions were then,
correct.
okay, and if they started
It
at
would.
6.
I believe that the start time of the meeting at 7 was so that the people of the city could also arrive after working to potentially participate in the meeting. However, I know, I hear often from people that they can't attend the meeting because they're at work. So it's maybe something to consider.
But
I know we have 2 counselors here that work, that don't wanna be here earlier than that. So, I don't wanna be here earlier than that, but I'm willing to be.
But if we started at 6 for executive sessions, the public could still come to the regular meeting at 7. So that wouldn't impact them.
I'm not commenting on that portion of it, I'm sorry. That,
Maybe I
I was commenting on
misunderstood.
the portion of moving the time of the actual meeting with the public comment period to a different time. I think we should just consider the people of the city and when is a convenient time for them to be able to attend these meetings.
Well,
Makes
the
sense.
thing is, there's people here at the city hall that have been here all day, and so we do have to consider that.
Right.
And their time frame too. I mean, that's a long day and it's hard to think when you're really tired and hungry. So, I don't know. I mean, yes, of course, we have to consider the public, but I think 7 o'clock isn't that unreasonable to get to a meeting.
No, I think 7 o'clock is great. And also, as a reminder, we're all paid to be here, so technically.
We're paid to be here? Sorry.
So, I mean, there's that. I mean, this is a city council, so we're supposed to be representing the people. I think we should be able to hear from them at a convenient time for them. That seems to be, this is a job where we're here to serve these people. And so,
I see what you're saying. I don't
But
think
yeah, I
7 is unreasonable.
I think 7 is what I'm proposing. Stick-
So you're saying like if it was earlier, like at 6, that'd be too early for,
It could potentially be, is all I'm saying. I'm saying we should discuss it before we approve anything.
Well, but what I heard in the discussion is that we were saying if we started at 6, that would be for executive sessions, which the public isn't at executive sessions.
right?
So the regular meeting would start at 7 and then they would be able to attend.
But even 6:30, I suppose, might be too early for the public. But yeah, I think 6, for executive session, that's totally fine, and I think we have done that the last couple times.
Yeah.
And I think that's worked out.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with executive sessions at 6 o'clock. I mean, if I know ahead of time, I try to block those things out, but there's still people, if somebody came in tonight at, 20 after 6 and I was freaking out because I still had to go home real quick and they were there till, 6:45.
Yeah, and I kind of like Jim's point that, I think everybody should be consensus, everybody should be okay with it. We don't wanna, make somebody come early when it's, not gonna work out for them best. But, I'm fine with keeping it, like we've got. That's fine with everybody else. Yeah, it works for me,
With
so.
me,
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
any other thoughts on that?
I have one thought I want to say to Ian. We have made some concessions for the public. We now have a public comment period at the beginning and the end of the meeting. It used to be when I first moved here, it was only at the end and you would have to suffer through the whole meeting to make a comment. okay, at like at 9:30, 10 o'clock. So we have made concessions with the public in mind.
That's great.
Yeah, I didn't want you to know.
Okay. Moving on, mayor and council discussions. I guess it's comments, not discussion. Does anybody have any comments about anything going on? I will say that I was kind of disappointed to see the crosswalk that got painted by IGA was not the blocks. I thought we talked about getting them blocked, and it's just regular stripes. So I was kind of disappointed. So I'll find out, because I thought we had all kind of talked about we wanted that. So I was disappointed to see that it didn't get painted that way. So I'll come in and figure out what happened there and see what we can do. Because there's actually a continental crossing by where I live that's really bright. It catches your eye, and I think that's what we need right there, because it's bad. So I mean, I just coming here, I was coming this way. Another guy, the lady was out in the middle of the street. The guy still barely even slowed down. She was in the middle of the road. So, anyways, but
Thank you for that.
I'll find out what happened on that, because I don't know, and I'm also curious. I don't know if anybody else knows why we paint it every year. I know since I've been little, that's been the case. It's always like, oh, Sheridan Days is getting close because they're painting the curbs, and I was kind of curious why. And maybe the next meeting we can ask Gary like what the cost breakdown is. Like, does it cost more to paint it with like paint that lasts 3 years, or is it cheaper to paint it every year? Like, I'm wondering what the cost breakdown is.
I have some answer on that. So what the striping guys did, was that last week?
Yeah.
Monday? I'm like, I don't even know what day it is. That is the thermoplastic, so it's not paint, it's what they essentially melt onto the street, and they have to wait until summer, more warmer weather, to get the adhesion onto the street. So I think it's probably just coincidental that they are undertaking that right ahead of hometown. Well, I guess it would have been before Sheridan Days, because it was Sheridan Days back then. It is more expensive than painting, but it also lasts better.
Okay, I guess what I'm thinking that happens every year is the yellow paint. Yeah, I don't know. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know that they put new crosswalks down every year. So okay. But that would still be a question. Do we need to paint them every year? The yellow paint every year, or what?
Need it.
Well, yeah, but like is the more expensive paint, worth it, or is it 3-4 times the cost? That's something I'm curious about. We can ask Harry about it if anyone else is interested in hearing that answer.
Yeah.
I'm also interested in knowing why they didn't put the red stripes, so that's 2.
Yeah, red stripes or white or something. Yeah.
Are you done with that topic? 'Cause
I
bring
think
up
so.
another one.
Go ahead.
Has the task force completed their findings, and when can we expect a report? Does anyone know?
That'd be a good question for Heidi, I believe.
They have a meeting on Wednesday.
Oh, they have
Yeah.
one more meeting still?
Yes,
Okay.
Wednesday.
And they should be having a town hall, we discussed that.
Yeah. When are they gonna do the?
Yeah, that was the other
I think
question.
that'll be determined on Wednesday. I'm pretty sure it's on the agenda that I saw that I put out there for,
Thank you.
Is that at 4 p.m.?
yeah, on Wednesday. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Are you done?
Mhm.
So these are gonna probably fall under questions that people don't like to ask, but I'm gonna ask it. So according to this email that we all got on May 21st, it just talks about, the power, the Public Works Administration Office, they're doing some repairs and putting in these external walls, and I get a little confused sometimes, because you got the old one on Washington Street and you got the new one on Sheridan Road, and I was just wondering which place they're putting them in at.
That would be a good question for Heidi, not something for anybody to see.
Well, it's kind of a council concerns.
Right, but she could easily answer that
Yeah,
question
but I don't
if
have
you
time.
emailed her ahead of time.
Well, I don't have time to do that. But, yeah, it's easier for me to say it here. And the other one on this land use, it's, had the same, well, that's the same thing, so that, but this one was on the 10th, and it was talking about, my big thing is just what street they're doing, because I don't mind improving the new one at the end of Sheridan Road, and dumping money into that. And it depends what they're dumping it into, versus the old one, which will probably be recycled into some kind of other use. But I do understand that there's a lot of gravel on Washington Street. I also know there's some gravel on Sheridan Road, but, you know, if that kind of money, if you're not gonna be using it within the next, I don't know how many years, it's just something, you know, future-wide budgeting our money, that, you know, you can tell I just came out of a budget meeting, can't you?
And I think that was a concern Denny had too, was putting money for the, you know, the concrete pad on that facility. I can't remember Heidi's exact words, so I'm not gonna, you know, I don't wanna misquote her, but I believe it was for equipment or something. Do you remember?
No,
It was the pad for, at the new place where they're gonna have covered parking. Okay,
So on
which
Sheridan
was a
Road.
prior concern, yeah.
On Sheridan, okay, so not on,
there's one in there too.
oh, there is,
There's
okay.
already one, there's gonna be two there.
Yeah, I don't know if that was good, covered.
I don't know that.
Okay, well, that'll be another, clarification we can get.
Yeah.
I just wondering when it comes to, you know, budgeting the money type of a deal.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'll let these guys go first, because I have a different thought.
Jim or Roxie was first. Okay, Jim.
What is Public Works doing on Sheridan Road? I know we have the water plant back there, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever, yeah.
I just, because I know I read the email about the things you were doing at Public Works, with the wall that was really a door, and they're gonna try and put some insulation, great. But I didn't realize that, there was anything going on at Sheridan Roads.
Yeah, like right there at the end where the yard debris and the glass drop off and all that, and you go further back. That's where actually all that was. You actually were right next to the Public Works facility, but they moved it forward. It's probably a good idea too. Roxie?
And when we purchased the street sweeper, I think it was mentioned that we wanted it housed inside so that it would last longer.
Do you want to rephrase that, Roxy? Who said that they wanted it stored inside?
I did.
Yes, there we go.
We paid a lot of money for that.
Sweet
So
beauty.
I would like to see it well protected and last us a long time, so it was talked about. Thank you.
Okay.
So I have another question. Does somebody
Okay.
else wanna say something? Got a little bit of time to blow. So my next thing is, what is the status of Kai's
No.
employment? No?
Not here.
No, okay, well, that's a question, I don't know, I have to put that on somewhere else. And then I did not know if Yvonne could, cause I've been thinking about this whole thing about building tourism, all this stuff that, And so I went to Umsville 2 weeks ago to the cutest little circus I have ever seen. The arena must have been about as big as this little circle. But I'm gonna tell you what, it was clean, it was very nicely organized, and the little kids absolutely loved it. They had one lion and one tiger that were kind of pooped, but they had horses and stuff. But, I know everybody likes to complain about, I'm gonna say it because they're not here, the dirty little carnival. But, what I thought was nice, they had pony rides outside. And so then I pulled up Umsville, because Umsville's only 39, actually it is 4,200 people in 2022, and that is the cutest little town over there. And guess what, Dan? They got their own police force. So, well, because guess what? Well, because he's young and he can do some digging. I'm too tired to be doing that. But when I first came on city council, I also wondered why we didn't have a police force, and there was all these really negative things, and I understand some of them are logical, but in the future of Sheridan, if they ever were to put in a new building, do this and that, and they've always included the police, if the city of Sheridan ever did want to build a new building, they should maybe consider the facility of having their own police force, and then when it's constructed, you just put it in there to begin with, instead of trying to modify a dilapidated building, which is extremely hard to do. And I think maybe looking into that was Umsville, if I had time or if somebody paid me, I would probably call them up and ask them, how do you do that in your little town? I thought it was very interesting that they had that. And then if I could have talked Yvonne into it, I had to pull up the front page of their city of Umsville. I really love how they promote their community. They really promote their community in a small way. Now I'm going. When I went to the Willamina, I think you went and Liz went, and they had a little, just for an example, this is a little placemat that they had, that you should read all the things they say about their town. I was so impressed with their civic groups, with their museum of local history, with their annual events. And how come we're not doing that? How come we're not doing that with Sheridan? And I've always wondered that, but there's a new council now with the new administration, so I feel like it's being heard. How come we're not promoting Sheridan on these little levels like this? And like I said, when I did pull up Umsville, they have this circus listed on there, and the city sponsors the circus. I was gonna ask them, how much does that cost? Because I'm sure that's an investment, versus where we have the chamber and the Rotary and these other groups. But I'll tell you, everything was clean, it was cute, it was fun. Even the adults were clapping because they knew the little kids were getting excited. And it wasn't really that expensive. And they held it in probably a school grounds. So I'm not saying that exactly, but I'm saying we can come up with something more imaginative. And also when you pull up Umsville's site, they have a carnival, but somebody in here said something about kind of like an old fashioned, you know, like pony rides, and they have little booths and they do a superheroes thing, and the community contributes to it, and it's free for the kids, but they just make it a fun time. And it's not real elaborate, and we could learn from our neighbors in Willamina how they put on the 4th of July. They don't have a carnival, but they have a great time, and they have little things going on for their whole community. And I'm wondering why, instead of wondering why people don't move here, how come we don't do things to make it more exciting for the people that do live here, and make it for the kids and the people, and as free as possible. And I know there has to be some extent of income, but there's a lot of things, especially with all the volunteer nonprofits we have, maybe we could encourage it as a city to promote something like that. And that's like another workshop, but it's really fresh on my mind, so I really wanted to share that tonight with you.
Okay, so 2 things on that, Lucy, afterwards I'll talk to you and we can figure out some more info. And I think part of the thing is, you know, asking like, well, why doesn't Sheridan, you know, do something like that? I don't know if anyone really ever, you know, is always like, yeah, I want to, you know, do that, or necessarily like volunteer to do it. But from what past experience, what I've seen is, you know, people will say, yeah, it's a good idea. And that's as far as it goes. They just say it's a good idea, but they don't, you know, take that extra step. But I'm willing to, you know, talk with you and we'll figure out, you know, go talk to Media Mill and see if they can
I'm
make
not
something.
taking your hand away, but
Sorry.
we can do a little bit, but that's right, but we didn't used to have as many volunteers as we've
That's
had
true.
in the last 4 years, and we haven't had as many nonprofits, and our chamber has never been as big as it is today, and we have other things like our art conspiracy. We don't even flaunt that. That's a great thing for our community, and our museum, we don't flaunt that, and that's a great museum. And that's all I'm saying is I think now we're getting, I mean, look at you, look how young our mayor is. Look at Ian, he's young blood. Things are changing in this town, and that's where you guys can pick the baton up from us and carry it forward and continue that while we go out to pasture.
But yeah, I think that it's, you know, it's a good point. It's just, you know, getting that idea, and it is a good idea, and then taking it from there and making sure there's, you know, some follow
If everybody hears me out there, get with it.
But another thing I was gonna say, this isn't to put down the Almsville Circus, they're a suburb of Salem, right? Essentially.
Yeah.
That might be why they get some, you know, so much business.
The next town they were going to was Jervis. I thought, man, they're only going to little towns. And I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't really, because you can't compete with Barnum, you know, I mean, forget it. If you're looking for that, just eat a Snickers bar at home. But I mean, it was really, you know, yeah. Well, I know, but the last one I went to was Barnum up in Portland. But it was just so, if you have the mindset for it, it was just a great opportunity for the children. You should have seen the children. And it was clean and unthreatening, and, I mean, it was the costumes were nice, the makeup was clean, their vehicles and everything was just
I think you
very
and Cale
nice.
can talk about this after.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll get some more info for you. Thank you.
That's for the public.
All right, Kenny.
Just one quick one, those placemats, the city doesn't pay for them in Willamette. The chamber and businesses pay for them.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that might be something somebody could approach chamber to give.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be meeting with, John, Stanislaw, chamber president, that, if you wanna give me that.
Yeah.
I'll give it to him, be like, hey, if I talk to the local, media bill, be like, if they give us something like this, are you willing to pay for it?
I mean, this is just for planting seeds today.
Right.
because We're planting seeds right now, so that's what I was just needed to do.
Yeah. That's good. Ian?
I just double down on what she's saying. I do think maybe we should try to have some sort of discussion about how the city can support more events. I've had a lot of people weirdly talk to me about the rodeo, which hasn't been on for 50 years. So, and there's no more rodeo events. So, people are wanting something. And so, somebody did talk about one of the things you talked about, sorry. The circus.
Talk to me after this, because I found a place for a rodeo.
We could get one of those mechanical things.
Okay, all right,
Lots of insurance.
all right, Jim.
Myself and Marilyn Levy's husband have both worked for some sort of equivalent of a traveling rodeo. There's some in Montana. I don't think they'll be here. So he's been looking for a lot longer than I have, so the rodeo was great, but once you tore down the grounds, the people are like, okay, that's half of it. And now there's always less and less, so if you need a rodeo, go to St. Paul.
That's what I was gonna ask, is how St. Paul does it, but maybe let's just put it on.
Oh, they're good, unless they're probably their equivalent of hometown days, is the rodeo.
But, yeah, I think, though, Ian's right, I think I'm talking to, chamber soon, I'll talk to whoever. I talked to Sidewalk a couple weeks ago, I'm pretty busy on the talking to people part. Because I think, stuff needs to happen, and I think we need to start talking to people. Because if we wait, it probably won't happen, so I wanna make it happen. Right, Liz?
Well, we should capitalize on what we're already doing. Like the fishing derby was so popular with the kids and parents. We should make that into some sort of all-day event for other people to show up with vendors and food and things. That's what I think, rather than try to create something again, something new.
Fishing derby this Saturday?
Yeah, it's always really popular with kids and families, so we should capitalize on that and do more events out there at Southside Park.
We used to, there were lots of prizes for the kids. There wasn't, it could be enlarged, especially now that we're enlarging the park. I mean, it could be a barbecue, it could be, some demonstrations done from Oregon Fish and Wildlife. I know they have already offered to let us, programs that they offer. So that could be a really good start by us enhancing the park to begin with, and, following through with what we had been doing before. I mean, it was a big deal. It was prizes and kids, and there were awards for the biggest fish and all kinds of things, and we haven't done anything like that.
Do you remember who put it on?
What's the city?
Yeah, cause
Okay.
my mother-in-law was working there at the time, and she,
I remember filling all those
Yeah.
eggs and.
my kids attended.
Yeah.
So who's putting it on this year?
Did the school district put it on this?
No, that was a for 4th and 5th graders, that was this last
Oh, okay.
Friday.
Yeah, that's
But
it.
this first fishing derby is a Rotary?
Actually, Brad Myers is actually running it, but Rotary's,
Okay, so
helping it out. I mean, that happens.
maybe next year we can pitch it.
Yeah, Public Works did the barbecuing of all of the hot dogs, and they have a
We
lot.
could even
going
have
on.
some vendors out there.
There's a lot of space, and the bathroom should be up soon. Well, I don't know about soon, but
So we could
They're being
work
constructed
on a-
soon, they're
on a
ready.
plan for that. Yeah, that'd be a great idea.
So, like, don't worry, because we'll probably still be out of here by 8:30, so just to play off of what they were saying, and you're absolutely correct, we should be getting ready to play up our new facility up here. And I would like to challenge at least the council members, and yes, I did fool around on the computer and I pulled up so just look at how they advertise what they do. They got the corn festival here, blah, blah, blah there. I'm just saying, we need to do that with what we have.
Right.
But here's another thing, because the tribes for many, many years, because they used to have their rodeo on the third weekend in June, but they always hired in a portable rodeo. And it started out very small. It was nothing like Sheridan, but we gotta quit trying to compare ourselves to our past because it's gone. But we still remember what it's like. And just, you know, use this for everybody out there that can hear this. Start thinking of how you can do something the cheapest, most resourceful way you can do it. And then make a plan for maybe there'll be another organization, nonprofit, that will come to life for something special like that. But we should be advertising. We're about ready to have a wonderful facility to hold events right off of Highway 18. That we should start thinking about how we want people to see it. And I think on the front page, however they did it in Umsdale, it's very cute and colorful. And color catches people's eyes, I'm gonna tell you. And it just says what they have going on. And we have great things going on, but I don't see us really spotlighting it. And that little colored placemat right there just tells you, I started thinking about everything Sheridan had, and I thought, wow, how come we're not promoting ourselves the way our neighbors are promoting themselves?
Yeah, I'm gonna be one of the few thankful.
But I mean,
That's good.
you call me, you know, it's
Okay.
already bugs in my ear already.
All right, I will, yeah. Ian, did you have something? Okay. Okay, anything else? What?
I just thought you were getting ready to close.
Oh, no, I know. Jim,
I'd like to make a motion, we adjourn.
we can't do that yet.
We have a public.
Second vote.
We got your second public.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
All right, do we have anything?
Yes, I'm sorry, Joe.
Okay, Joe, go ahead.
I'll be really quick, I know everyone wants to go home. I won't be here 7 or 8 minutes, I promise. Joe Haley, WPT, resident. So when the crosswalk topic was brought, a lot of things came to mind that I thought might be beneficial. When the council was thinking about having the crosswalk going the other direction, like the line instead of the continuous line, it was more like that part. One thing I know is with traditional crosswalks that are painted, usually the first to go would be where the tires make contact with the street. So that means that as a car passes over, you're gonna have maybe 2 or 3 lines that were unscathed by the vehicle that's not in contact, because the chassis going over it, the tires not making contact. So I would imagine it would be cheaper maintenance wise, because you're only painting over the areas that the tires make contact, not the rest of the crosswalk that the vehicle would pass over without making contact, applying heat to tires, which would cause the paint to come off. That might be maybe a cheaper option. And then when Tyler, it's good, mentioned about how the material was used recently, you need heat to apply it. Well, obviously it's done before Sheridan days, and the weather lately hasn't been, in my opinion, hot enough for that to adhere properly. And I've noticed that in the past, within the first month, during the cold season, usually it cracks and it just scatters around the street. And you mentioned it was an expensive option. Well, maybe it might be better to explore the cheaper option, just change the traditional line to just the segments to where you're just, as a maintenance part, only filling in the part where the tires make contact with the road and not the rest of the crosswalk that's not touched by the vehicle's tires. Just a thought.
And I'll, real quick, the heat part is with propane torches. They're out there with propane, they set it down, heat it up with propane, and then that's how it adheres. But
Right, I've noticed that too, but I've noticed that, in my opinion, if you have the torch and a really hot day, it might actually last longer. But yes, you're right, I have seen them with torches, and boy, it really smells when you walk by it. But it's progress, but maybe, in my opinion, maybe just regular paint, doing the different direction that the council think about might be maybe a cheaper option, going down the road long term.
Right, thank you. Yvonne, was there any others?
No, there is not.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I second it.
Okay, all in favor? All right, we're adjourned. It